located here in La Plata County. This is, I've always known that I wanted to be in the health field, and most of my undergraduate classes were kind of aimed on the pre-med path, and which is a likely course that most of you will take if this is a field of interest to you. And like I said, I thought I was going pre-med, but ultimately decided that nutrition was a better path for me. So after receiving undergraduate, I then had to take some additional courses that were more specific to nutrition. And as everybody will have to do, go through not only the nutrition courses, but you also have to complete a rather lengthy internship. And that is part of the process of becoming a dietitian, but it's really great because that gives you a chance for that experiential learning. And then the grand finale before you become a registered dietitian is you have to pass a registration exam. And there's also follow-up every 5 years to make sure that you're getting your continuing education. And once you fulfill that requirement, you keep your registration as long as you want. I was always interested in health. And I think while my initial goal was to go pre-med, I kind of decided that I really liked that preventative measure of health. And what better way to do that than with food? That is something that every one of us engage in on a daily basis. So it felt like it could be a very impactful aspect of health to work with, because it relates to everybody. And it has a lot of potential to act preventatively and give people quality of life. You always end up with mentors along the way. I had kind of a unique experience when I was going to school, more specifically for the nutrition courses, because they were all online. And sometimes that can change the dynamic. But as I mentioned, you'll have to go through an internship where you gain that experiential learning. And that's where you end up with a ton of great mentors. A lot of my mentors were the folks that I worked with in a lot of different sectors in which nutrition can be applied. So that can be more that clinical work. And I had some great mentors while I was working in a hospital. I mean, as all mentors, good mentors will do, they're there to help guide you and be the ones that will listen to all your questions, even when you're afraid to ask because they sound stupid or you feel like you should know. Those are your wonderful mentors to have because they make you feel comfortable to ask all those questions. So yes, everybody will have mentors. And I would say that even though I have now been a registered dietitian for, gosh, it's been over 10 years now, I still have mentors. I still have people that have years more experience than I do, or they work in a field that I don't get as much experience in. And I still rely on those networks and relationships to help guide me in the work that I do. Because it is such a diverse field. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do with nutrition, but I would say you're going to need to be the kind of person who's pretty self-driven. You may not end up with a lot of oversight. In other words, you kind of have to drive the boat. You've got to get out there and make things happen. You also have to be pretty organized and also know that you're working with people and they have to be able to trust you. So you've got to be trustworthy and know that when people are sharing information with you, that they can feel confident and safe that that information is going to stay private. I would say you have to like variety because there's so much diversity in this field that what you do one day could be very different from the next day. Last but not least, I would say that you have to have a love for people, because the truth is you're going to hear their stories and you're going to hear things that it has a lot to do with behavior change. And when you stand on one side, you can be like, well, it's easy, you just make this change, but recognizing that for somebody else, that's not so easy. And so you have to have compassion And like I said, just a willingness to listen to people's story without judgment. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but the diversity. I mean, there's so many things that you can do in this field that it's really hard to get bored. And as long as you have a love for food and health, I think you could find a job as a dietitian. You may be a great writer and decide, you know what, I'm going to write books, or I'm going to write blogs or articles. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for writing. There's opportunities for, if you like to be in the spotlight, there's an opportunity to get into, I guess essentially show business. You could have a television show. You could work with sports if that's your interest. You can work for a professional sports team. I mean, there's just a ton of different things that you can do. All the things that I mentioned are not necessarily my passion, but I know that there's opportunities out there. And every single day I'm engaged in something a little bit different. And to me, that's exciting. A very important thing is that every day you work with folks, and when you see their small steps towards success, however they define it, it's very rewarding. I would say don't be afraid to try a lot of different areas. And in all honesty, you will get pushed into this in your internship. So for example, when you go through an internship, you'll have to have experience in food service. You'll get experience in clinical work. You'll get experience as a community health educator. And you may not love all of these different rotations that you're submersed in, but hang in there. You never know when you may discover something that is new and exciting, and you appreciate more than you perhaps thought you would initially.